No matter how much you love the horror genre, every once in a while, you'll see a scene that you think crosses your own personal line. On this video, I will list 7 most scariest horror movies of all times. On the 7th spot, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. The 2005 horror film directed by Scott Derrickson was a revivifying surprise, reimagining the genre and resetting our sense of terror to a whole new level. The movie takes place in a small town surrounded by a Grant Wood landscape. Houses and remote farms crouch in winter fields under a harsh sky. Most of the demon possession scenes occur in flashback, and Jennifer Carpenter is required to do her best imitation of Linda Blair. She makes strange sounds, scratches the walls, displays amazing double-jointedness, and gains unusual eye coloring. While the melting demon people are a nifty, unsettling touch, this alleged battle for the soul of mankind is in reality more of a sidewalk scuffle between a pair of legal eagles. On the 6th spot, The Conjuring. The Perrons and their 5 daughters have recently moved into a secluded farmhouse, where a supernatural presence has made itself known. Though the manifestations are relatively benign at first, events soon escalate in horrifying fashion, especially after the Warrens discover the house's macabre history. The Warrens, best known for their work on the strange case that inspired the Amityville horror movies, which played a part in The Conjuring 2. Portrayed by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, who grounded the effective jump scares and freak-out moments with a believable world weariness. On the 5th spot, The Ring. The Ring is a 2002 American supernatural horror film directed by Gore Verbinski from a screenplay by Aaron Kruger, starring Naomi Watts, Martin Henderson, David Dorfman, Brian Cox, and Davy Chase. It is a remake of Hideo Nakata's 1998 Japanese horror film Ring, based on Koji Suzuki's 1991 novel of the same name. When her 16-year-old niece Katie unexpectedly dies, journalist Rachel Keller is determined to find answers. Strangely, Rachel's niece isn't the only sudden teen death in the Seattle neighborhood. Katie and her friends rented a cabin a week before their collective demise, prompting Rachel to rent the same room they occupied. She finds an unlabeled tape, which turns out to be a sequence of bleak, disturbing images. There is an urban legend about this tape. The viewer will die 7 days after watching it. If the legend is correct, Rachel will have to run against time to save her sons and her own life. On the 4th spot, Insidious. Married couple Josh and Renee Lambert, their sons Dalton and Foster, and infant daughter Callie, have recently moved into a new home. One evening, Dalton sneaks away to explore the attic, when he encounters a frightening entity and falls from a step stool. The next day, he inexplicably slips into a coma. After 3 months of treatment without result, Renee and Josh take Dalton home. The family starts to experience disturbing paranormal events. Renee begins hearing voices over the baby monitor when no one is in Callie's room. Foster says that Dalton walks around at night. She calls psychic Elise Rainier and her paranormal investigators Specs and Tucker. One of the investigators sees a vision of a woman while investigating. Insidious is a 2010 supernatural horror film directed by James Wan, written by Lee Wanell, and starring Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, and Barbara Hershey. On the 3rd spot, Halloween. On a cold Halloween night in 1963, 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murdered his 17-year-old sister, Judith. For 15 years, Michael is incarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium, during which time he never speaks a word. Michael escapes Smith's Grove, killing a mechanic for his coveralls on the way back to Haddonfield. Upon arriving, he steals knives, ropes, and a white, expressionless mask from a hardware store. On Halloween, Michael sees high school student Laurie Strode drop off a key at the long-abandoned Myers house that her father is trying to sell. Laurie notices Michael stalking her throughout the day, but her friends Annie Brackett and Linda van der Klook dismiss her concerns. Halloween is a 1978 American independent slasher film directed and scored by John Carpenter, co-written with producer Deborah Hill. On the second spot, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Teenager Tina Gray awakens from a terrifying nightmare wherein a disfigured man wearing a blade-fixed glove attacks her in a boiler room. Tina's boyfriend, Rod Lane, interrupts their sleepover. When Tina falls asleep, she dreams of the disfigured man chasing her. Rod is awakened by Tina's thrashing and sees her dragged and fatally slashed by an unseen force, forcing him to flee as Nancy and Glenn awaken to find Tina bloodied and dead. The following morning, Tina's best friend Nancy Thompson and Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn Lance, console her, revealing they each also had a nightmare the previous night. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 American supernatural slasher film written and directed by Wes Craven and produced by Robert Shea. On the first spot, Annabelle. In Santa Monica, California, John Ford, a doctor, presents his expectant wife Mia with a rare vintage porcelain doll as a gift for their first child. That night, the couple is disturbed by the sounds of their next-door neighbors, the Higgins, being murdered during a home invasion. In the days following the attack, a series of paranormal activities occur around the Form's residence. She and John name their child Leah. The family rents an apartment in Pasadena and, after finding the doll that John had discarded since Annabelle's previous attack in one of their boxes, Mia calls back Detective Clarkin to gather information about Annabelle and the cultists and learns that the cult intends to summon a demonic spirit. Annabelle is a 2014 American supernatural horror film directed by John R. Leonetti, written by Gary Dauberman and produced by Peter Safran and James Wan. It is a prequel to the 2013 film The Conjuring and the second installment in the Conjuring universe franchise. That's for today. Thank you for watching this video. See you on the next case.